Paul, how important was it you got something after that game, from that game, given all the efforts into it?
I'm just pleased for everyone concerned that we did take something. But we were the better team for large parts of the game, had a lot of pressure, but at the same time, certainly once they went in front, they've got something to protect. They're not going to overcommit, and they'd put the ball in the net and we hadn't, which you need to do. So however well you play, whether that's us, being or missing the opportunities and not being ruthless that we talk about, but just really pleased to take something, and from an unlikely source in terms of, I think, a header at least. I think he said it's his second header that he's scored in his career. It was a great ball in, and a good header, so we at least got, I think, the absolute minimum that we deserved from the game, and I think realistically most people would say that we deserved to win.
I was going to say, I bet you there's a few good things that Troy Maguire and Drew's got, and heading probably wasn't top of the list.
No, not at all. But we certainly encourage wide players with whatever system we're playing to get in at that back post area. They were a great ball in first half, and he was kind of on the outside of it. This one was closer to the goal. Maybe the defender got slightly underneath it, but even when he heads it, he kind of very quickly knew where he was going. But it wasn't, an absolute certainty. So pleased for him. I have to say he's done fantastic to get through the 90 minutes as well, as a lot of the players have. But he was certainly one that probably felt wouldn't last the game. And the truth of the matter at this point in time is he's nowhere near as fit as what we want him to be. And I think initially that showed. He took a bit of time, as the team did, to get into the game. The first 10 minutes or so, Halifax set up good play. But after that, he certainly showed some glimpses of what he can provide.
Got to ask you about the referee and some of the decisions, and a lot of shouts for a penalty. Do you think any were justified?
I think the big one was Sean Pearson just before going behind. I've seen sort of an image, it's kind of zoomed out, but it's certainly, or some footage, and it certainly looks like he's been almost rugby tackled. I don't know if you need to have that much contact in that sense to get a penalty. The referee, I guess you could argue, stayed strong despite the complaints from the stands. But I think there were certainly a couple of other shouts that I don't think were. There was a hell of a lot going on. There was another one that I haven't had a chance to look back on, where I think he ended up giving an handball against one of our players. The lad seemed adamant that we vote for had been fouled on that occasion. So yeah, it didn't feel we certainly got a home referee, shall we say.
And the crucial thing about the Sean Pearson not being given, of course, it becomes a double whammy because they got the field to score from.
And look, what I would say is we had enough people back initially. I've just looked very quickly at that without dissecting it all. Just on pure numbers, we've got enough people back. I think they get a good switch of play from their point of view, and then they have forward runners, we back off, and he strikes from distance, and they obviously get the follow-up. Doesn't matter if you feel aggrieved, you've got to react, and maybe that's something we could have done better.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe for the first hour of the game, you had quite a few half chances, but none of them really ended up on target.
I think we had some great chances, John, and I'm not trying to make a story up or anything. Ben Fox's chance first half is an absolutely great chance with his head. That's certainly one that springs to mind. Now, apart from picking him, I can't do anything about that particularly. It's a great chance. On another day, he scores, he can head a ball, but he didn't for whatever reason, and that's kind of felt how it's been going a little bit at times in the run that we've been on. I think there's a couple of games we haven't created lots in, there's others where we've missed good chances, and if you do, you leave yourself open to getting results that you don't want, and obviously that's been the case for a large part. But today, I just have to give the players a lot of credit, because I genuinely said it before, I wasn't trying to get an excuse in early. I didn't know what I was going to really see from us today. I know they were looking forward to the game, and I knew I'd get some effort, but I didn't know how long they'd be able to sustain it. And I think fair play to them. They've clearly done some work away from the football club that had been asked, the ones that could, and they kept pressing right until the end.
I know you said about sort of lack of goals and not taking chances. So are you looking for that sort of player, whether it's a striker or from other positions, a player who can naturally score goals?
Well, I think we've certainly been missing one for a large part of this run that would perhaps help, and even in one of the defeats that we played and scored. So that's someone that would, I think, help. The wide players have to...
McAtee?
Yes. The wide players have to contribute, as Jordan has today, as do midfielders at times. I think we've had ones cleared off the line today. Like I said, I think it's very sort of dangerous just to say, well, bring a striker in. So you bring a striker in that you think's a goal scorer. Is he then going to play alongside Ryan Taylor, who was excellent and caused a lot of problems today, set chances? Or are we changing systems? Is he coming out of the team? It's not always quite as straightforward.
But it does seem to me when Ryan Taylor plays and plays well like he did today, that's the key to that side doing well.
There you go. That is one of them. There's no doubt about that. Now, we can't again simply put it on Ryan Taylor. We can't simply put it on John McAtee. But I have to say, I've watched teams that have got absolute fortunes, massive squads, and they lose a player or two players, and it makes a big difference to them. And at the minute, or certainly not at the minute, but the run that we've been on, that does seem to have been a key factor. Because said we've been looking at everything, and that's the most obvious thing that's been about us. Now, I'm really pleased today we've put on a good performance. Some of the performances, I have to say, haven't been that bad, but I accepted, you know, you need to turn performances into results or take something from games, i.e. the Chesterfield game or the Notts County ones.
Alex Hunt, Sam Bell, I think their loans are up fairly soon. What's the situation?
Yeah, there'll be conversations happening over the next day, 2 days to resolve that. Not particularly straightforward, so we'll see what happens with those, and obviously we'll let you know the outcome as soon as we do.
In what way are they not straightforward?
It's not just as easy as saying we want them to stay here. I'm just being distracted. Is that Rico has got a bottle of champagne? Has he got the man of the match there?
Surprise.
He's in fairness to Rico, and I'm not going into details, I'm not letting anything slip, but he's been ill a couple of times during this period and hasn't been fit in training. Again, I think he can be sharper, but you're starting to see the threat that it can cause. And again, maybe he's another one that at times we've missed, and you have to cope when you miss players. That's fully accepted, and we haven't done that well enough. But I do think there's still a decent team here, and I think we've showed that today against a team that I've been very impressed with. Or second in the league, or certainly were. We're almost top when I watched them at Chesterfield. In the league.
You did well to avoid the Alex Hunt question there. Are you hopeful that you get them both to stay?
I think we need to evaluate everything, John, in truth, because there are some changes I would like to make, and that's not being too critical of the players that we've got. And how we can do that without just stockpiling players has to be something to consider.
Wilbur Parker's not been involved for a little while. What's the situation with his now?
Yeah, no, he's with us. Him and Seb, as it stands, are with us for the season. Again, there's options in terms of their parent clubs looking at that situation and if they wanted to change that. But at the minute, he's just simply not been, I guess, to the standards of the other players that I feel have made the difference. And I think if you look at it today, Maguire Drew's come in, still nowhere near as fit, like I say, as I want him to be. And we haven't had the chance to really work with him on that now, unfortunately. Max Wright comes back into it today, had a really good impact coming off the bench. We've got Rico, who carries the ball for us, takes us up the pitch. And we've got some good options. Still might want to add to that, we'll see. But competition's strong, and if know you're not absolutely at it, then I can only, it's like, the crowd's wanting me to make a sub. Okay, what do you want me to take off? And it's because I didn't really want to change shape because we were well on top of the game. So it's always dangerous, that's the temptation just to chuck another striker on instantly and then you lose some of them.